Welcome back to an episode of Ministry Truth. I am your only host on this show. It is Tuesday morning. How's everyone doing? Don't know why I thought it was Monday, but it's not Monday. Of course it's not Monday. So, got a few things we're going to go over today. Some news stories, maybe a Hunter Biden interview that, maybe you've heard about. I was going to do the clips, but fuck it. We're going to play the whole goddamn thing. Why? Because that's why we're here. But before we get into anything, we got to start off with a music video. Music to get us in the mood. And this is going to get me in the mood. I don't know about you, but at this point, it's all about me, right? It's about me. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's give you a safety brief.
I can tell you not to drink and drive, but I know at least 3 you get no DUI. Do you know how much paperwork that is for me? I really hate dealing with the MPs. Whoa, looking at your car, oh, you're a private and you're 31. The betting man would say you're the one.
No lie, though. It's funny when he's saying he's a private and he's 31. I was a 22-year-old leader. And I had soldiers that were 30, 31, 35. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Looking at you. Stupid look on your face like you don't give a fuck. Just know Monday you'll be pissing in a cup. Safety breeze. Safety breeze. Safety breeze. Safety breeze. Snorting coke off of strippers, but buying dances just to bust a nuts. Dancers will convince you to give them a ring. Trying to get that paycheck on the 1st and 15th. So don't marry the first one you see. Chances are she's got HIV. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Now back to the brief. Back to the brief. Hey, did you just fall out of formation? No way, this guy just fucking locked his legs.
Okay.
Medic!
Oh,
Get him out! Combatives, you learn the guillotine. Doesn't mean you fight for the UFC. There's a reason why we take condoms with us. None of you need to depend upon a mouse. She's got nice tits, but she might have a dick. It could be long and strong and tasty. Are you kidding me? Tasty? God, really? Ugh. Just roll with the bridge. So if you want to stay safe, listen to our safety brief. You can have fun and play if it's below 32 in a gay. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. Charlie Sheen has AIDS. He's got AIDS. He's got AIDS. AIDS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
How was that? That was a very important safety brief that you must receive every Friday so you don't fuck up and end up in jail or with a pregnant stripper or with an STD, STI. Alright, that's again military stuff, humor that you probably don't get. Actually, no one's really paying attention anyway. And that really makes perfect sense. When you tell people they're fucking retarded, when you tell them, you know what, y'all are a bunch of fucking pussies. Pussy. Because you're so sensitive. You're so sensitive. Right now, I can be sensitive. Because you know what? I pay attention sometimes. And you guys seem to talk shit about people with smaller channels because you're what's that word? Monetized. How many of those monetized people are alts? I'm just saying. I don't really care anyway. Anyway, what we're gonna go out to, we're gonna talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's gonna be talking about AIDS. Funny how this song came up. I don't know. Put this shit together like yesterday or day before. But Charlie Sheen has AIDS. And so does Africa. And who gets to pay for the AIDS treatment in Africa? You. And me, but not anymore.
While the Defense Appropriations Bill funds $15 million for HIV prevention educational activities undertaken in connection with the United States military training exercises and humanitarian assistance activities conducted primarily in Africa, I want to talk about something that is plaguing Black Americans today.
Africa?
According to the Department of Education, 85% of Black students lack proficiency in mathematics and reading skills.
Correct.
That's appalling. That is a failure of our education system to Black Americans. But in the Department of Defense Appropriations Act, we're supposed to send $15 million to teach soldiers and teach them how to avoid getting AIDS? Isn't this already known?
Yeah, but this
has been going on for years and years and years, and we're having to pay for that. Why are the American people that are $37 trillion in debt having to pay for people in Africa, soldiers in Africa, to tell them how to avoid getting AIDS?
Right.
When our own Black students here in America, 85% of them lack proficiency in mathematics and reading skills, which is extremely important for their success in their adult life. Furthermore, there are entire high schools in our cities where not a single student scores proficiently on a standardized test. But the most important thing we can do is send $15 million
Why not 20?
to teach adult soldiers in Africa how to not
Like
get
American
AIDS.
soldiers?
This is insanity. And this is the exact America Last spending that the American people are fed up with.
Get him, Marjorie.
Mr. Speaker, at what point does sanity enter the halls of Congress?
It doesn't.
Because it hasn't been here for a very long time. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to vote for this amendment to at least save the American people 15.
Trying to codify Doge cuts by getting rid of USAID, which I thought already happened, which it did. Act Blue is one of the major, what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficiaries, as well as all these NGOs that were getting these illegal immigrants here and taking care of them. Remember, you can, in Los Angeles, you get $500 because you're afraid to go to work because you're an illegal immigrant. Fuck the rest of the Los Angeles Americans who have to go to work every day. Anyway, we're going to talk to we're going to get back with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's going to talk about another country who I 100% believe in this message, and they need to be defunded and no longer given any more of our fucking money, considering they not only attacked, the Palestinians, but they also attacked a Catholic church in Palestine. Weird.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Israel is a nuclear-armed nation, and they're less than $400 billion in debt. They are quite a thriving and successful nation. Their economy is strong. They're doing a great job for their people. However, the United States, the American citizens, are $37 trillion in debt. Yet we're continuing to send hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign aid constantly to foreign countries. This has to end at some point. Our problems here at home for Americans and the American taxpayer that are paying for all of this have gotten too large. And I also want to point out that Israel bombed a Catholic church in
sure
Gaza.
did.
And that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. Now, we are heartfelt about the October 7th tragedy, that when people were killed, innocent people were killed.
What up, Yeti?
However, at some point, the United States needs to recognize that Israel is a strong country. They are nuclear armed, and they are capable of defeating their own enemies. It's right to stop funding this, as we give them $3.8 billion every single year anyways. Mr. Speaker, I ask for support for my amendment, and I yield the remainder of my time.
Going in on Israel. You know, apparently that's not the cool thing to do. But who cares? If I'm right, I'm right. If history proves itself, history proves itself. It's weird how I got like this part color and part gray, so it looks like my beard's going to one, whatever. Yeah, so she doesn't want to fund AIDS for Africans, AIDS medication and shit for Africans. I agree. She doesn't want to fund Israel and their never-ending wars. I agree. Israel can defend itself. Obviously, we saw this every time. They don't need us. They don't. Especially when they attack us themselves. USS Liberty, 9/11, JFK, Epstein. Don't forget the tunnels they were building under New York City. People seem to forget about that one. But anyway, enough of that. We're going to head to Houston. And I believe this was an attempted kidnapping. I believe, yes. This was an attempted kidnapping. What day was this? 4 days ago.
Video shows a Honduran national carrying a woman down the street as she
this
is
is different
screaming
story.
for help. This morning, we've learned.
So this guy apparently kidnapped an Asian, held her in his house, abused her. She escaped, and he caught her again. That's fucking crazy.
That man has been charged with aggravated kidnapping, accused of locking a woman in a room for days as part of what Harris County Sheriff's Office investigators believe is a larger human smuggling and trafficking ring. Deputies say the kidnapping happened near Elderberry Lane and Rimwood Road in Northeast Harris County. Brittany Jeffers is joining us live this morning from the Harris County Jail, where the suspect is being held.
Yeah, and Haley, this is very much still an ongoing investigation because detectives say there's a possibility there are more suspects out there and possibly even more victims. And they say that video that you were taking a look at, that surveillance video, has been a key part in this investigation. So ultimately, deputies arrested a 22-year-old. His name is Jose Carcoma, and they arrested him for kidnapping. ICE says that he's a Honduran national who entered the U.S. illegally back in 2020. Well, investigators say that video, as you referenced, was from Elderberry Lane. You could see that woman being carried back to a mobile home where she allegedly was locked up for days, deprived of food, sexually assaulted. Harris County Sheriff's Lieutenant John Klafka says that deputies were called out to that trailer on Monday after neighbors reported a possible child abduction. Now, when they searched that mobile home, they say they found a 44-year-old Chinese immigrant, a woman inside of a closet with her hands bound. She told detectives that she'd come to Houston from New York, promised better pay for a job in the massage industry, but after first arriving at an unknown location, someone stole her passport.
Wait. She was in the massage industry in Houston? Isn't that where Deshaun Watson was getting his massages?
Then she got moved to the trailer. And investigators believe that Carcoma is just one piece of a much larger trafficking operation.
Nobody is here for her, so we've got to do everything we can to ensure that she can trust us to do our jobs and find the rest of the people that are involved in this.
So again, that is the focus in this investigation now, the possibility there may be more
look at her
suspects
neck.
and more victims.
Holy
So if you
fuck.
have any information that may help detectives out, you can contact the sheriff's office or Crime Stoppers.
She's got
Haley.
like a whole
Thank you so
foot
much,
of
Brittany.
neck.
But do we know, have we heard from the woman? Have we heard from the suspect? What are they saying?
Yeah, and thankfully, we're hearing from detectives that the woman in this case is safe at this point. So, of course, that is a major focus. Thankfully, she is safe at this point in time. Carcoma, for his part, claimed that he didn't know the woman. We reached out to his attorney, who then issued a statement to KPRC2. It said, in part, he is shocked by the serious allegations brought forth against him and firmly maintains his complete innocence. He's been booked into the Harris County Jail on $150,000 bond, and he's also on an immigration hold at this point in time. So, of course, we'll continue.
If he's on an immigration hold, he doesn't get a bond. That's simple.
To watch this, monitor it as it evolves, if there's possibly more arrests tied to this case, Haley.
All right, Brittany, thank you
So has ICE gotten him yet? He is on an ICE detainer. And think, 22 years old. I don't believe it was the first time. Like, how did you find a 44-year-old Chinese woman coming from New York? That sounds kind of weird. Now, is the Chinese woman illegal? Because if she is, how are they going to proceed with this one? Either way, that Guatemalan, he needs to go to South Sudan. I hear they like immigrants from America, illegal immigrants from America, over in South Sudan. Not sure what happens to them once they get there. It's not my problem. They should have thought about that before they came across the United States border to commit crime. Crazy concept. I know. But it's a crazy concept that works. Anyway, now we're going to go to Lake Michigan. Yeah. Some people should not be around kids. Some people should not have kids. I don't know if this was this lady's kid, but they do have the same address.
I don't know the name of a 1-year-old boy who drowned in Lake Michigan last week. The medical examiner has identified him as Sir Watson. 31-year-old Surah Aman is charged with his murder. She is due in bond court today. Officers say she drowned the boy on Friday night at a beach behind the South Shore Cultural Center on 70th Street. Now, police did not say how this woman and the boy are connected, but official documents listed the same address for where both of them lived. We are working to gather and confirm more information. Stay with us throughout the day for further up.
Now, are they related? I realize this story is from, I think I took it from a couple days ago. If that is not your child, it doesn't really matter if it's not your child or not. Why the fuck are you going to drown a 1-year-old child? What in your mind makes you think that's okay? And I don't know if you can guess by the name that she wasn't exactly. Yup. Well, goddamn, that's how that works. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to the next story. This one is from Alabama. These three, they deserve a special place. Special place in a wood chipper.
Months-long investigation in Bibb County ends with 3 men arrested. Thanks so much for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Jarvis Robertson. WVTM 13's Aaron Llewellyn is live and local from the Bibb County Jail in Brent right now. Aaron, the sheriff's office says the suspects are facing serious charges.
Yeah, Jarvis, 3 men were arrested for sexually abusing children, and the Bibb County Sheriff's Office says that it happened in an underground bunker here in Brent. According to court documents, the suspects were indicted on July 11th. Now, according to a Facebook post from the Sheriff's Office, it says that the investigation started in February after concerns of sexual abuse were reported. It says investigators did interviews that led to the arrest of one of the suspects, William Chase McElroy. Now, that information also led to the arrest of Dalton Terrell. Both men are facing charges of rape, human trafficking, and kidnapping. Now, according to court documents, a third suspect, Andres Velasquez Trejo, was arrested and charged with human trafficking as well. Now, court documents list the children from ages 3 to 10 years old at the time the abuse happened. Now, the Facebook post goes on to say, such abhorrent behavior will not be tolerated in Bibb County, and offenders will face prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. And that was a quote from the Bibb County Sheriff, Jody Wade. Now, we know that all three suspects are behind bars here at the Bibb County Jail, and they are being held without bond.
Good.
Live here in Bibb County, Aaron Llewellyn, WVTM.
3 motherfuckers, and I think they took them down into a bunker every time they went to sexually assault these children. 3 to 10 years old, as you heard them. Sex trafficking, when you see the Hispanic guy that was charged with sex trafficking as well, they didn't mention his legal status, which I think would have made sense, considering all these other news segments, they let you know the legal status so that they can get deported. Or let you know that, they're here illegally committing these crimes. But, you know what? You commit crimes here in America and you're an illegal citizen, you'll get bailed out. You'll get bailed out, especially in these sanctuary cities, which Bibb County is not a sanctuary city, which I think is kind of weird.
Accused of trafficking her daughters over Snapchat made her initial court appearance today. Police say 32-year-old Morgan Stapp offered lewd photos of her daughters, a 7-month-old and a 2-year-old, on multiple occasions. A judge set her bond at $200,000 and issued a no-contact order for 2 of her children.
Good.
She has pleaded not guilty.
Listen to them canes. Oh, they got highlighted yellow.
Oh, yeah. Are we on the record? Okay. All right, we're on the record. This is Marion County Superior Court D27. Good morning. Are you Ms. Stapp? S-T-A-P-P? Okay. What's your date of birth, ma'am? All right. I'm here to tell you what the state of Indiana has charged you with, the classifications, as well as a reading of your constitutional rights, okay? All right. State charged you with 1 count of child sexual trafficking. That's a level 2 felony. Penalty is 10 to 30 years and fines up to $10,000. I have read the affidavit of probable cause. I do find probable cause for your arrest. I'll be entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf.
What?
Please be advised, when the state of Indiana has charged you with criminal offenses, you have certain constitutional rights. You have the right to a public and speedy trial by jury, the right to cross-examine and confront your accusers, to subpoena witnesses on your own behalf at no cost to you if you could not afford to do so. The privilege against self-incrimination, the right.
How does an accuser that's 7 months and 2 years old, how do they testify?
Right to an attorney and the right to bond. Your bond has been set at $200,000 surety. My next question to you, ma'am, is do you have any funds in which to hire private counsel?
What?
My next question to you, bond has been set at $200,000 surety. My next question to you, ma'am, is do you have any funds in which to hire private counsel? Do you have any money to hire an attorney?
No.
I can't hear you. No. Okay. We have to use our words because we're always being recorded, okay?
Yeah, speak
Could
up.
you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Okay. Ma'am, how old are you? 32. Okay. And what do you do for a living?
Nothing.
I only take care of my kids.
Okay. So you're a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
7.
You have 7 children?
Holy shit.
Okay. Are you married?
No.
All right. How do you support yourself?
Welfare.
I get help from my parents.
Okay. Are your parents here today?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
What?
All right. And other than your parents,
Her fucking parents support this? Wow.
do you get any other kind of assistance financially?
Government assistance. On the sidelines, I use my mom's DoorDash account.
I hope my microphone carries downstairs.
I created an Instacart where you go shopping and you
Sure.
deliver.
Okay.
But that's what I do for money.
Okay. Approximately how much money do you earn then therefore, including government assistance and your side jobs, do you earn per week?
As of right now, nothing. I have not worked in quite some time since DCS removed the kids in December
Okay.
I just got the kids back a month ago.
Okay. Do you does your parents wish to hire a private attorney for you? They don't have to, but if they have the funds and they choose to, I will allow them to do that. Mom, Dad, no? Okay. All right. Ms. Stapp, I'm going to find you indigent, and I'm going to appoint an attorney from the Marion County Public Defender Agency. We have an attorney sitting next to you. Sir, who can help this woman?
That will be me, Your Honor.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to appoint you to Mr. Comerford, and he's going to meet with you in private and discuss your case in private from here on out. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Omnibus date? September 9th? September 9th, 2025, pretrial conference.
September 9th, my anniversary.
September 15th, 2025, 9 a.m. remote. All right, last issue of business. State of Indiana asked me to issue a no contact order that should be in front of you, forbidding you to have any contact with an Avery Stapp and an Emerson Stapp. Do you know who those individuals are? Those are two of your 7 children? Okay. I am going to grant that motion.
So, she has a no contact order with 2 of those children, which she was, I guess, not really sex trafficking, but sexual exploitation. What about the other 5 kids? Is she allowed around those other 5 kids? That would be an interesting question to ask.
What that means is by signing this document, you're merely agreeing that I have in fact told you here in open court and on the record, you are forbidden to have any contact with those children. Okay? It's not necessarily forever, but I'm just doing it while this case proceeds and both parties can begin their investigation. All right, by signing this order, you can't have any direct contact or indirect contact. Direct contact means you can't call them, write them, text message them, Facebook them,
I
things
thought
like
calling
that.
would be indirect.
Indirect is that you can't have a third person, like your mother, brother, cousin, try to reach out to them and give them any kind of communication. That would be a violation as well. Do you understand that? Also, pursuant to federal law, when there's a no contact order in existence, you're forbidden to have any firearms, deadly weapons, or ammunition. Do you have any of those things?
No, ma'am.
Okay, because if you did, I would have to order you to get rid of them. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. Once again, Mr. Comerford bonds 200,000 surety.
Yes, Judge, we'd ask
Okay.
for a bond review, please.
Okay, would you like that in person?
Yes, please.
All right. Bond review?
Pretty sure my cat's retarded.
July 15th at 1 p.m.
All right, July 15th, 2025 at 1 p.m. bond review. Once again, Omnibus 9/9/2025, pretrial conference 9/15/2025, 9 a.m. remote. Next week for a bond review with your attorney, okay? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Yo, she better not get a fucking bond. How about that? What a piece of shit mother. No job, gets government assistance, 7 fucking kids, and her parents help pay for that? You know, after the first 2, hell, maybe even the first one, and be like, listen, I'm not here to take care of your child. That is your responsibility. I didn't have somebody take care of you when you were growing up, so what's up? Fucking, I bet you. What about the fathers? We know they're not in the fucking picture because she's getting government assistance. And she has no job. Her job is welfare. That's what we're spending our taxpayer dollars. Well, not we. That's what they are spending our taxpayer dollars on. Yeah, dude. That's fucking disgusting. And like, she deserves every bit of that 30 years. And I hope she gets all of them. But why did she only get 1 count? They were talking about 2 kids, but only 1 count. Okay, so this story has been coming up since Friday. Do I think Barack Obama is going to get arrested? Absolutely not. Would I charge him? Absolutely. Would I convict him? Absolutely. But since he won't see any time, just that conviction alone was like exactly what they did to Donald Trump. He got convicted, no prison time. Why not do it to Barack Obama? And remember, no one is above the law, to include the sitting president, which he did conduct this while he was still the sitting president.
So, on his very first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order announcing that the federal government would, quote, take appropriate action to correct past misconduct related to the weaponization of law enforcement and the weaponization of our intel community. No person alive today knows what it's like to have the full force of the federal government turned against you better than Donald Trump. Well, he does not want any other Americans to have to go through what he went through, because President Trump, frankly, has been bent to hell and back. And it all started at the beginning of his first term with the totally phony Russia hoax. We spent 3 years unpeeling every layer of that onion on this program with John Solomon and Greg Jarrett and Sarah Carter and others. Today, we're learning another shocking detail about the early days of that sham investigation. We have a newly declassified report prepared for President Barack Obama back in December of 2016, right after Donald Trump won, specifically stating, quote, Russian criminal activity failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. And they were talking about one place in Chicago. Now, the deep state did not like the assessment. That was put together by career people, rank and file people. But when the politicized people around Obama got it, guess what? It changed. They never let Obama see it. Then when he asked them to prove that Russia meddled in the election, they just simply complied, and they turned it on its head. And frankly, in many ways, you can say they polluted what was real intelligence, and they turned it into poison.
Who, Russia?
And they did it to destroy one man. Is it any wonder that there are now reportedly criminal investigations, this conspiracy investigation by Kash Patel underway, and it specifically names Comey and Brennan. All right, here
doesn't Comey
give
have
us all the details and bring us up to speed with reaction. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, she declassified this report yesterday, has many more details. You know, I have this creation of the Russia hoax that you put out on X, that you posted on X, and I'll put it up as you're speaking here. What is amazing to me as I've gone through this cache of documents you've released is they concluded just the opposite. They concluded there was no problem.
The opposite.
And then all of it, that was the rank and file. These were career people in the intel community. They gave honest assessments. Then all of a sudden it ends up in the hand.
So the U.S. government, you know how they've been talking about releasing this Epstein client list? Well, apparently they're going to do one better. And by one better, they're getting Ghislaine Maxwell to come in front of a Senate or a committee hearing and talk and talk and talk. That should be interesting. That should be interesting. But nothing will happen to anybody.
Hands of the leadership, the deep state as we call them, and what happened to it. Can you explain what the process and what these documents reveal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. This is such an important issue, and I just want to start by saying that this is an issue that...
Well, you probably do. How awesome that would be, just to go up there and be like, yep, this motherfucker's guilty. He did it.
Is important to every single one of us as Americans. This is not a partisan issue. It has to do with the integrity and the strength of our democratic republic. And it lays out this over 100 documents that you're referencing that I've released, declassified and released, spells out in great detail exactly what happens when you have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice and others, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people, who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had heightened and increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November. Now, you referenced this President's Daily Brief document that was drafted for President Obama in early December that reaffirmed what the intelligence community professionals, as you say, had been assessing for the previous 6 months leading up to the election, which was that Russia neither had the intent nor capability to essentially hack the outcome of the U.S. election.
Don't tell them that.
As you said, President Obama's political appointees pulled that document before it could be published, and it has not been published until we released it today. And the very next day after they pulled
official investigations and documents, it's always a cover-up. Always.
That document, President Obama called a National Security Council cabinet meeting to discuss how Russia interfered with the election. Again, this is the first week of December.
9th,
President
right?
Trump had already won. Correct.
This is the December 9th meeting.
That's exactly right. The December 9th meeting, we declassified and released what they call the summary of conclusions from that meeting. Then DNI James Clapper took the lead on what President Obama wanted done, and which was essentially...
I'm curious, like, if they're going to go after certain members, what about everybody that was in the room when that happened? A lot more people had to know about it, especially Hillary Clinton. Are they going after her? Joe Biden, he knew. Are they going after him? Well, they're not going to go after him. He's too fucking old. He has no idea where he's at right now.
Create a document that tells us not if, but how Russia interfered with the election. President Obama delivered the conclusion that he wanted the intelligence community to reach and directed them to find and essentially create and manufacture the intelligence to support the conclusion that President Obama wanted to deliver to the American people. Once that document was drafted, the deep state kicked into gear and did what they usually do. They started leaking this classified information out to their friends at the Washington Post and others who are working hand in glove with the deep state to lay the groundwork for the assessment that they eventually released that served as the basis once again for this years-long coup with the goal of trying to subvert the American people's will and usurp President Trump from being able to deliver on the mandate that the American people gave to him when they chose to elect him as president of the United States.
So you had career intel people that came to a conclusion that, in fact, Russia did not interfere, that it had no impact, and they didn't like the assessment, and they have this meeting with President Obama at the time, and they make the decision, a very conscious decision, to pervert real intelligence, turn it into phony intelligence, but also simultaneously something else was happening. And James Comey, for example, was warned about the Russian disinformation dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton. He was warned not to trust it, but it became the bulk of information for not one but 4 separate FISA warrants, ruined Carter Page's life, but also back.
Yeah, we're going to take the opponent of Donald Trump at the time, and we're going to completely believe any story she tells us, the media. Come on, Hillary. Maybe you need to be prosecuted as well.
Toward an ability for them to spy on President Trump, candidate Trump, and transition team Trump. Nobody was ever held accountable for that either. Now, to me, it sounds like you have appointed powerful bureaucrats that just flat out created a narrative that was false to undermine a duly elected president. Now, if that's not a grand conspiracy, I don't know what would be. Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the department.
Just because she's saying that we need to prosecute them for this crime doesn't mean it's going to happen. It still has to go to the Department of Justice, and Pam Bondi's got to go, you know what, since she's the Attorney General, yeah, we're going to move forward with this. Probably won't happen.
Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country that we know it. This accountability is critical to make sure that this never happens again. Exposing the truth and naming those who are responsible should drive that accountability that has to take place. I just want to mention quickly, Sean, you mentioned...
Remember, Russia is the one that told George Soros, get your fucking open society bullshit out of my country. Get you out of my country. And all of a sudden...
the Steele dossier, that plays a critical role in these documents that we released, specifically because James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, they all knew that the Steele dossier was discredited at this point. It's not something any intelligence professional looked to as something that could be referenced or should be referenced in any intelligence assessment whatsoever. I know that there were professionals who were told include the Steele dossier in this January Obama-directed manufactured piece of intelligence, and they protested to people like John Brennan and James Clapper. They were shocked that it would even be considered. The Steele dossier was used in this manufactured assessment that President Obama directed be created, along with many other pieces of intelligence that the intelligence community itself, for months leading up to the election, said this is not credible and should not be used at all.
However, we saw that it was used over and over again to push the narrative that there was Russian collusion in the elections of 2016. Yeah, 2016. Crazy. Crazy. Like I said, Department of Justice now has the recommendation from DNI. Now it's the ball's in their court. Just so you know, it's no longer in DNI and Tulsi Gabbard's hands. So we're waiting on the DOJ again on another conspiracy / hoax. Oh, Carmen. Well, just stay with us now, and then you can rewatch later, or you can start from the beginning. All right, so we're going to talk about airplanes and military aircraft. So it was another close call. Whether or not it was a B-52, I'm not really sure of. But this pilot, quick thinking, and he probably saved a ton of lives.
Tonight, a Delta flight narrowly avoiding a collision with a military plane, according to the pilot, telling passengers he had to bring the plane around fast to avoid what he described as a B-52 coming near their direction. One person on board
Was it
the
a
flight
B-52 or was it
describes going completely
C-130
sideways when
Hercules?
it happened. Maggie Vespa reports.
You probably saw the airplane kind of sort of coming at us, and nobody said, hey, there's also a B-52 in the pattern.
For passengers, a stunning announcement.
There's no radar here, so the tower is controlled, the tower does everything visually.
It happened on board Delta Flight 3788, operated by SkyWest, flying from Minneapolis to Minot, North Dakota Friday night. FlightAware showing it made this circular diversion before landing. The pilot filmed by a passenger reliving his conversation with air traffic control before a near collision with, he said, a B-52 bomber.
I mean,
He said turn right. I said there's an airplane over there, and he says turn left. And then by the time we read back to clearance, looked over and saw the airplane that was kind of coming on a converging course with us.
The pilot said he opted to make the sudden move given the military aircraft's speed.
Sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all. Long story short, it was not fun, but I do
So this is a failure on air traffic control, not
thank you for understanding. It was kind of not a fun day at work.
Minot International Airport is roughly 13 miles from an Air Force base. Tonight, the Department of Defense
Pretty sure
referring
they use the
NBC
same
News'
runway.
questions to the FAA, who says they're gathering information on what happened. SkyWest saying it's investigating, adding the plane landed safely but performed a go-around.
I just remember the plane going like sideways like that.
Monica Green is the passenger who filmed this video.
We used to call them
Made me so
racetrack.
sick to my stomach that was so close to happening.
The shocking near miss comes just 6 months after a military helicopter collided with a passenger plane near Reagan National Airport in D.C., killing 67. Recent incidents that
but then we
make
came to
frequent
realize that that was on purpose. That pilot was going to do what she did anyway.
flyers like Green weary.
I'm very anxious about the idea of going back to that airport and flying home.
There's some. It's just a near miss, near hit, near collision. Whew. You survived, and now you should be happy. How many times have I cheated death? A lot. Which is why I am the way I am. But it's okay. It's okay. Now we're going to listen to... Oh, I took out the fucking Kristi Noem one. So... Still, you don't know that, I think I went over that CBP officer that was shot in the head, but didn't die. And he was shot by an illegal immigrant who was also shot by the CBP officer. And, well, it's not going to be good for him and his buddy. So, Kristi Noem had a press conference about it. And then Tom Homan chimed in saying that he's going to flood these sanctuary cities. I believe those were his words. If not, then those were poor choice of words. But I would have used it too. You know, the floods get rid of the riffraff. And this was his response to that specific comment.
Times, such as we were able to get the stop work order lifted that allowed a multi-billion-dollar project to happen.
Is it Jackie Robinson Day? Or was it yesterday?
That's what government do. Yes, and Jay, let's get in, Jay, before I bounce.
Thank you, sir. As a result of the shooting over the weekend,
yes,
Tom Homan is now saying his words, I'm going to flood the zone in New York City with ICE officers. Do you welcome that?
To do what? To go after dangerous people like this individual who shot an innocent Custom Border Patrol agent. He's lying in a hospital when I went to see him. Heavily sedated. He was shot while sitting down enjoying the heat. If he's going to assist us to go after those individuals, I welcome it. If it's going to be to go after everyday individuals who are trying to complete the path to be a citizen, then I don't think we should do that.
What Tom actually said, he's going after criminals. However, if hold on. You just happen to be in that specific area, with these criminals, then yeah, you're going to get picked up and deported yourself. They're not actively going after people that aren't causing crimes or haven't caused crimes. Those people just happen to be collateral damage. Now here's the interview. This man right here, said he would invade El Salvador if he was president. Plus, he pretty much goes off and just, what's that word you guys use? Spurgs? I don't use that word because I don't really know what it means. But I imagine this is it, because this is what people do. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I don't know if this is going to get me, what's that word? Content. Whatever. Where YouTube likes to kick off my my streams. But we're going to go through this because, unlike everyone else, I don't want to see just all the excerpts, which I have seen. I want to see the whole thing in context since it's only 12 minutes. So this is Hunter Biden on some fucking podcast who I don't know, who has way more followers than me, and I'm going to go over this. Fair use since this is news, and anything I have said during this whole video or this stream and or continuing with this stream is strictly satire. YouTube, satire. Because I can pretty much say anything under satire. I don't have to say in Minecraft.
So much alcohol, almost a handle of vodka a day. And alcohol is the most destructive drug, not just to your body, but it puts you in more danger than any other drug that I've ever experienced.
Like meth?
And then you add on top of that the amount of crack that I was using at the time. And crack cocaine, in terms of your physical health, is not as dangerous as the situation that you put yourself in to be able to take. To give an idea, when I'm talking about a shot of crack cocaine, you say cocaine, are some of the reasons.
Without them, we would all
pretend like you're not getting attacked by a bee right now.
Hey.
Aren't real, but bees are.
Good morning, America and the world. My name is Andrew Callahan, the host and creator of Channel 5, the largest independent crowd-funded newsroom in the United States. The following interview is with Hunter Biden, the controversial, storied son of former President Joe Biden, who issued a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter during his final month in office, shortly after Hunter was found guilty of tax-related crimes and being an illegal drug user in possession of a firearm. Hunter has yet to speak to the media about this pardon and hasn't done a televised interview.
He had a firearm. It's the fact he purchased a firearm and lied on the background check.
Years. In fact, aside from a very limited and controlled press run to promote his new book, Beautiful Things of 2021, Hunter hasn't given a single statement to the media, especially in regard to the laptop scandal that was a crucial component in the Stop the Steal movement back in 2020, wherein millions of Trump supporters alleged that Joe Biden was being controlled and manipulated by nefarious foreign actors who leveraged their business connections with Hunter to peddle influence in the White House. As I mentioned, this alleged intel connects to private messages and emails that were found on a laptop that Rudy Giuliani and his lawyer claim Hunter left in a computer repair shop in Delaware sometime in 2020, where after the laptop repairman, John Paul Mac Isaac, pictured here, essentially leaked its contents to the world. Along with evidence of alleged corruption, tax evasion, and influence peddling, what was also leaked from the laptop is nearly a decade of private photos of Hunter in the thralls of crack cocaine addiction. These photos, if you can remember, circulated like wildfire across the internet, painting a sleazy portrait of a man on the edge. Something of a Pennsylvania Avenue Charlie Sheen minus the HIV diagnosis, which if you've seen the photos, is a major blessing. All right, in today's interview, we're gonna discuss the laptop, the 2020 election, crack cocaine, and more, with an emphasis on recovery and away from gossip and family drama. And by the way, if you'd like to listen to or download an audio version of this interview, I've uploaded a crispy WAV file to the podcast feed of our long-form program, 5Cast, which is available now on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. All right, let's get into it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Biden. All right, Mr. Biden. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. How long has it been since you've done a formal sit-down interview?
You know, it's been a while. Been a long while. I had a conversation with Jamie Harrison, who's the former chair of the DNC.
You know why, though? Back when I was in my early 20s, maybe it was my mid-20s, My early 20s, I wore shell-toed Adidas's, and I tell you what, I could still run a fucking 10-minute 2 mile in those things, even though they were heavy as fuck. But I wore these for a little while as well. These Pumas, the exact Pumas, because that's how they came. And they still come that way.
He's a great friend, loyal. And I was down in South Carolina for other things and kind of like family down there. So I sat down.
No. This is 12 minutes. We're not going through the... Because I think this is what... Yeah, this is from him. Oh, I probably should have read the whole thing. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're going to go just do this clip. I'm a retard. So yeah, we're doing clips, not the 20-second clips.
I went to him and talked about some stuff, but nothing like this.
What made you feel like now's the time for a official, unedited long form?
Well, I don't know when it is the right time or not the right time. I'm an admirer of your work, and we have a mutual acquaintance. It didn't take me much to agree to be really interested. I think the work that you've done is some of the most interesting commentary on the moment we're living in. The expanded moment that we seem to be continuing to live in of from 2020 on. I hadn't seen much of the earlier work that you had done, but I do know that I at least appreciate the sincerity with which you approach everything that you do.
I appreciate it. You said 2020 on. Do you feel like that's the year the world kind of went crazy?
No. I think that's the year that we all kind of woke up to the realization that things are crazy. But no, I think that they've been going crazy for a while. And I don't know whether crazy is the right word.
No shit.
I think that I don't know how interested people are in my take on why I think the world is a little bit crazy right.
This actually is from Channel 5 clips. So this is the dude's clip page, because he has the link to the actual full interview. Unless that's this dude's name. I don't know who this dude's name is. I've never seen him before in my life.
Right now.
Well, I think there's probably millions of people out there who just want to know how you're doing.
Personally, I'm great. I tell everybody, and Melissa gets kind of upset with me because it has been obviously a difficult time. You know, the past 5 years have not, at least from any outsider's perspective, been fun. But for me, as a person in recovery,
okay, so it's not
and being able to maintain that recovery through this and stay clean and sober throughout it. So one thing I allow myself to take some pride in. And I know about my life is that I survived almost certain death.
Oh,
and,
okay.
I mean, I don't know if you read my book, but it's pretty transparent about it. Having survived that hell kind of prepared me to be able to make it through kind of the public humiliation that, I don't know any other way to put it, that I've experienced over the past close to 5 years now. And it doesn't seem to stop, but I'm more grounded in who I am and what matters to me and what I'm grateful for on a daily basis than I've ever been in my life. And physically, I'm in a hell of a lot better shape than I was since my last drink or drug 6 years ago.
So it's been 6 years?
Yeah, just over 6 years.
When you say you almost died, can you kind of give us some more context?
In the White House?
I was a drinker, and at the end, my addiction had progressed so much that it was potentially deadly on a daily basis. The thing that was the most concerning and the most real about, facing death was in actuality the alcohol. Once you fall into that lifestyle, and I wouldn't call it a lifestyle because there's no life to it at all, you enter a completely different world in which you're living kind of completely outside of the bounds of any communal norms. I don't know. It's a scary place to be. And I met some of the most truly heroic, astounding, thoughtful, kind people that I've ever met in my life that are living, lives of quiet desperation, not quiet, very loud desperation, but even in that found space in their hearts for empathy and kindness. And I've met some of the most awful, predatory people that I've ever experienced in my life.
So you feel that the thralls of addiction do oftentimes swallow up very genuine, earnest people, but at the same time...
Dude, look at how he sits just like Barack Obama and that person we were watching the other day. Can't fucking remember who it was. And then look at the way he sits. Huh? Huh? Oh, that cross-legged faggot shit. Where the fuck is my mouse?
And that underbelly is home to a specific breed of evil as well.
One of the things that I've realized is that addiction is one of the most universal conditions. I don't know many people that have not been impacted by it in some way, whether it's addiction to drugs or addiction to behaviors. They have the same dilatory effect on not just you, but more importantly, on your immediate community, your family, and then it just spirals outward. And I don't know anybody that hasn't been impacted by drugs and alcohol in a really significant way, or at least a way in which it's created trauma in their own personal lives and the lives of those that they really love. And so while it's universal, it's something that we rarely talk about. And it's kind of the way in which we treat
Gavin, you're right.
It's something that someone else is doing, and that someone else happens to be your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, yourself, your coworker, and it only becomes a problem when it becomes a problem for you.
Do you think that you would have been treated differently by the media if your addiction was to an opiate or perhaps methamphetamine as opposed to crack, which kind of has a racialized context to it?
Well, maybe, I don't know, because it depends upon what media you're talking about, because what is the media? You know, I think it was just an added bonus for them that they could say crack addict and everybody would go, oh my God, he's a monster. So I think for those that wanted to use it as a bludgeon,
most crack addicts,
it's easier when you slap the word crack addict onto it. It made me a lot easier target for the Don Juniors of the world, you know, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, just because of their inherent kind of meanness about things. But I'm not a victim here. I was a crack addict.
You're probably right.
I wrote about it. I was transparent about it. I wasn't naive to the idea that somehow that would be something that anyone or everyone would be able to fully comprehend and have empathy for. We're lacking empathy across the board, not just for Hunter Biden. But I guess I was a little bit surprised in terms of a lot of people in the press, whether it was the New York Times or the New York Post, kind of dismissed addiction as somehow unique to my family, or without taking into account what they were doing to other people that were looking to get clean and sober. One of the things about getting clean and sober, at least I found, I don't know what your experience in your life or with your friends or others is, one of the things that keeps us in the cycle of addiction is our guilt and our shame, is the lies we tell ourselves and the lies that we tell the people that we care about the most. And you get clean and you get sober, and what ends up happening is you still hold on to these secrets. Like, I smoke crack. I was a crack smoker. They know that I did cocaine, or they know that I was drinking, but they don't know that I was also an inveterate drug user. And so you keep that secret, and that guilt kind of boils up. And the only place that you can talk about it is in rooms full of virtual strangers, which is really helpful. But it isn't it doesn't release you from that awful feeling that I'm about to be found out, and that anxiety. And so then you get triggered, and your brain tells you to do the only thing that it's learned how to do, is that you need to save yourself. And the fastest way to save yourself is a drink or a drug. So you get caught in this loop. And the favor that they did for me is I don't have any more secrets. Now, not everything that's been said about me is true, but there are the things that most people would be very embarrassed about, I've been very open about. I spent more time on my hands and knees picking through rugs, smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. I probably smoked more Parmesan cheese than anyone. And
I'm not lying. I have no idea. I've never even heard of it. So I'm not going to pretend like I do. That's why you're here. Teach me something. So there's a few parts that were obviously missing that I totally didn't realize that it was a 3-hour interview. So we're going to go through a few more of these. Okay, so I was right. Thanks, Yeti. Let's see which one this is.
He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends.
Oh yeah, we're gonna listen to him talk about George Clooney. Hello, Angela. Did I already replace the screen? Yes. Now I know why they went through the clips, and that wasn't the clip I wanted.
But fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him and everybody around him. I don't have to be fucking nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. Fucking George Clooney is not a fucking actor. He is a fucking, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. Fuck you. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his fucking life to the service of this country and decide?
No, I wouldn't exactly call Congress service to the country. You're elected.
That you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the fucking New York Times to me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 fucking years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of fucking David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior fucking speechwriters in, on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40, $50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. And they're going to replace their judgment for his.
Not to mention,
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper?
my mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No,
because
no.
by the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over?
If I had to guess, Roots, I would say money.
Or anything. He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to shit after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it.
I didn't realize
It was
Jake
such a
Tapper
money
had
grab.
ratings.
Such a disservice to everybody that he serves with.
Well, that's his thoughts on George Clooney. Let's see. He's got more thoughts.
With money. 100%. You know? I had an organization that was willing to pay me for a service that I was 100% qualified to do. I went to Yale Law School. I served on dozens of boards before this. I was an expert in corporate governance. I have a encyclopedic knowledge of the region. I had served on a major infrastructure company's board and had done work in global aid relief throughout the entire world and had an enormous list of connections of my own. And I was qualified to be on that board. And it gave me the freedom at a time when I really needed the freedom to be with my family, to focus on my brother's health. And I chose to do it. And I was transparent about it. Yeah. And I did it.
Nothing wrong with making some money here and there.
But by the way, I you say that, and I could say that, and in light, and they'd be like, oh, it's just there's this reporter Ken Vogel, and he calls it like soft corruption, as if I could separate myself from my father in any meaningful way that would not disadvantage.
So just in case you doubt me, I knew this years ago. Here it is. Joe Biden's son Hunter kicked out of Navy for cocaine. This is NBC News, so you know that it's, kind of left-wing. But yes.
the only thing that makes us different from fucking China or Russia or anywhere else or Europe or anywhere, and the only reason that I believe that we as America are different beyond the fact of the idea of the Constitution, the idea that we represent is immigration. I can't even believe sometimes I'm having this discussion with anybody. How do you think that we are reborn every generation? How do you think that we attract the smartest people in the world to the United States of America? Through immigration. I mean, you sit here and, I mean, like,
Legal immigration.
just think about it. You got some motherfucker who's made over, what, $251 billion being a United States citizen that got here and stayed here illegally before he got his citizenship, sitting here lecturing us on who we should allow into the United States of America and giving us a fucking Heil Hitler along the way. Are you fucking kidding me?
And talking about how gay.
Taking a pop shot at Hunter. Can't wait till Elon. Well, actually, I think Elon did say something about it. All right, that's not what I wanted to hear. We're going to hear his thoughts.
These guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, fuck you. How are we getting those people back from fucking El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the fucking president of El Salvador and say, you either fucking send them back or I'm gonna fucking invade. It's a fucking crime what they're doing. He's a fucking dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both. These guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, fuck you. How are we getting those people back from fucking El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the fucking president of El Salvador and say, you either fucking send them back or I'm gonna fucking invade. It's a fucking crime what they're doing. He's a fucking dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both. These guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say,
and this is, the response from Bukele, right? All right, now we're going to go live. Well, it's not live anymore. It's pretty much done with President Donald Trump and the president of the Philippines. There's going to be more questions about anything else that's not required. Here we go. Anytime.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country. I know that because I have many friends in the Philippines, and there's great respect. Or I couldn't say it, so congratulations. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And Pete, I would say that you couldn't be happier, right, with the relationship.
Great partners.
So I just want to say it's an honor to have you. We're going to talk about trade today, and we're very close to finishing a trade deal, big trade deal actually, and we do a lot of business with you. It's a lot of
no shit, Roots.
For both groups, but I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big, and they're going to get bigger under what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I just want to thank you for being with us. It's a great honor. You and your representative. It's really a great honor. We have a big announcement. AstraZeneca, the big drug company, is going to spend $50 billion, just announced $50 billion in the United States in order to build various places all over the country, big manufacturing plants, pharmaceutical plants all over the country. So that's an honor.
If I remember, I know they had a deal with the U.S. and Philippines for some Navy. Forgot what, I read the article. They were dealing with some Navy shit over there. Yep. So they're going to use the Philippines for boat maintenance. which is, if you think about it, boat maintenance for the Indo-Pacific area, Southeast Asia, China, North Korea. They're all pretty close, and that would be the safest place.
They did that because of the election and because of the fact that the tariffs are placed. So they're building their facilities in New York. $50 billion, that's a big investment. And it's going to be a very good investment. I have no doubt about it. So thank you to AstraZeneca. And with that, I'd like to
Fuck Big
say a few
Pharma.
words, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, we're all very happy to be here to once again reaffirm the very strong ties between the Philippines and the United States, ties that go back
Dude, I have a
over
shirt just
100
like that.
years. And considering the context in which we live these days, especially in my part of the world, this has become.
And before anybody thinks like, oh my god, this is traditional ceremony shirts, clothing. People get married in shirts like this. People go to big events like this, inaugurations. This is their formal wear. So just let me get that clear, because I actually said I have one. It doesn't fit, but I have one. I think I outgrew it or it shrunk.
Into as important a relationship as is possible to have. We must remember that the United States is our only treaty partner in the Philippines, and
I didn't know that.
That has stood us in good stead over the years, certainly through the Second World War, and the cultural memory of all Filipinos, down to even the school children, is that our strongest, closest, most reliable ally has always been the United States. That is something that we value, that we are grateful for, and that we will continue to foster as we go on. With the leadership of President Trump, I am very confident that we will be able to achieve that. I think it is worthwhile to remember that it was President Trump who, in his first term, characterized the relationship between the Philippines and the United States as ironclad. And that has been necessarily the case since that time that you made that statement, sir. And it is something that the Philippines will always hold close to its heart. Thank you once again, and we are honored, and it is our great pleasure to be here and to visit with the President of the United States. Thank you.
Dude, he's so intimidated by Trump.
Any questions?
He's nervous as fuck.
Mr. President, do you think that Fed Chair Jerome Powell should resign?
I think he's doing a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out. But I call him too late. He's too late all the time. He should have lowered interest rates many times. Europe lowered their rate 10 times. We lowered ours none. And it's causing a problem for people that want to buy a home. Look, our economy is so strong now, we're blowing through everything. We're setting records. You know that, you see that. And whether it's the Philippines or anyone else, we're setting records at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But you know what? People aren't able to buy a house because this guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high, and probably doing it for political reasons. The only time I remember him cutting rates, he cut the rates just before the election to try and help Kamala or whoever he was trying to help. He probably didn't know. And he's building a building. He's $2.7 billion. They have a $900 million overrun. What is that? And that was given by Biden. That was another Biden deal. And this guy's building this building that's severely...
I'm assuming you mean couldn't, because most Filipino guys don't intimidate me. I'm an intimidating one. Don't know why, because I'm so reserved. I'm shy. I'm timid. I'm afraid to say what I'm thinking. Word to my moms. I came to drop bombs.
Overrun, and What does he need the building for? Why does he need space for more people? So they did a big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the
No, unless I misread it wrong, I've never met a Filipino dude that could be intimidated. Could be or couldn't be. Maybe I just don't understand what you're trying to say.
economists and all of the great everything, and it was 71, and only 2 got it right. Me and another gentleman that happens to be very smart. 69 people got it wrong, and the Fed got it wrong, more wrong than anybody. And you know, he has these think tanks, and they build buildings for people that think.
Oh, you've never met a Filipino. My bad. My bad. Now, because I was thinking in general. Did I get it right now? You've never met, which makes sense. Or am I wrong? Not really sure what's going on, but now I'm right. And that's how it is.
And it's really not thinking. It's a little bit of combination of thinking, but it's something you sort of have or you don't have. They don't. The job he's done is just terrible. He ought to raise interest rates. You know, we would.
Yeah, my bad, bro.
1%.
I was thinking in general. Because I know what we're good.
We should be leading the world. Instead, we're paying 4%. And if you look at what that means, that's over $1 trillion in interest that we have to pay.
Yeah.
That with the striking of a pen, we would be saving more than $1 trillion. Is that right, Scott?
Yes,
Do you have
sir.
anything to say about it?
Yes, sir. I called yesterday and this morning for the Fed to do a big internal investigation to understand not their monetary policy, but everything else. The Fed has had big mission creep, and that's where a lot of the spending's going. That's why they're building these new or refurbishing these buildings. And I think they got to stay in their lane.
Well, looks like the Oversight Committee is going to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. So much better than an Epstein client list, because now, what's she got to lose? What's she got to lose?
And I think that based on the way they cut rates last fall, they should be cutting rates.
All right, you motherfuckers.
It's inconceivable. I know the Fed very well, that they can be spending $2.7 billion to build a building. They don't do anything. It's the greatest job. You show up one day.
That's how you fucking spell it, retards.
Doing well, the economy's not doing well. We're going to raise interest, and he's got it wrong. That's why I call him too late. TOO, too late, and it's really too bad. But it is affecting people that want to buy houses, and that shouldn't happen.
And Mr. President,
And you know, he should lower them. Those rates should be 3 points lower.
Oh,
That's what they should be,
my bad.
3 points lower. Maybe
You know, I was thinking, maybe I missed. You're talking about Americanized Filipinos. I'm not. Well, then I could be, because some Filipino Americans, they really are. Maybe because I don't remember growing up with any Filipinos in the United States. I remember Guam, but we were all of them, and I was one of those shy, timid ones. But somehow I grew out of my shell when I had to go to school with white people in rural Kentucky. That was fun. But yeah, definitely I'm one of those ones I love to fight. It's bred in me, apparently. You know, I was born in the military. I stayed in the military. By the time I retired, more than half my life had been in the military. Now it's not.
I would like to ask both of you one question. Mr. President Marcos, next year, Philippines is going to be the rotating chair of ASEAN. I wonder, how do you plan to balance your relationship between the United States and China? And for President Trump, Kremlin yesterday said if you are going to Beijing in September, they wouldn't rule out a meeting between you and President Putin. Is such a meeting possible? And
you whites are retarded. And the only reason I say you whites, or I should say the whites, because how Jesse Lee Peterson calls the black community, the African American community. He doesn't call them African Americans. He says the blacks. And I just think it's fucking hilarious. So I start calling them the blacks. And it seems to be okay. Seems to be okay.
how soon do you plan to visit China?
Well, we have a lot of meetings possible. President Xi has invited me to China, and we'll probably be doing that in the not too distant future. A little bit out, but not too distant. And I've been invited by a lot of people, and we'll make those decisions pretty soon. Please.
Well, as you as you say, we are chairing ASEAN for 2026. There is no need, in a sense, to balance, as you characterize it, to balance our relationship within the United States.
Listen, you whites. You whites. I mean, technically, if I say you whites, I could be, talking to Argentinians because they're pretty white. I could be talking about Russians. They're pretty white. Are they white in Morocco? No. Can you call Italy whites? Sometimes. Because then you have the Milanos. Jews are white. I could be talking about Jews. The whites. Then again, if I was talking about the Jews, I would say the Jews. And Angela, well, you have no soul, so yeah, there's that.
China, simply because our foreign policy is an independent one, and we are essentially concerned with the defense of our territory and the exercise of our sovereign rights. Now, whether we do this not alone, we need to do this.
Speaking of the Jews, growing up as kids, even in my early adult years, it would be okay. It was okay to joke about the Jews. Well, general, anybody. Any race, any religion. But over the past 20 years, 15, 20 years, everybody's gotten so sensitive. Do you want to hear the worst racist joke I have ever said in my life? Well, you're going to hear it. Can you tell me why Jews and cockroaches, what they have in common? Jews and cockroaches. Anybody? Anybody? You ready for this? No matter how many you kill, they just keep multiplying. More and more. Get it? And I told this to one of my Jewish leadership. But he's okay. He was a Jew from Hoboken. And he said Jew jokes just as good as any one of us. But that one was a jaw dropper.
Again, our strongest partner has always been the United States. But of course, we are trying to form coalitions and multilateral relations so that those like-minded nations who share the same values as we do, who hew to international law, most specifically the UNCLOS, present that position very clearly to anyone who has intentions of unilateral.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to interrupt because I'm not paying attention to what he's saying, because that's not where I want to get to. I want to get to the questions. I'm telling you, all that gold shit behind them, the accents, everything, that's legit the gold from Fort Knox. What a great place to put it.
Changing the world order, and that is how we are guided in that.
And I don't mind if he gets along with China, because we're getting along with China very well. We have a very good relationship. In fact, the magnets, which is a little complex piece of material, but the magnets are coming out, very well. They're sending them in record numbers. We're getting along with China very well, and I don't mind if the president dealt with China. If that's meant, because I think he has to do what's right for his country. I've always said, make the Philippines great again. Do whatever you need to do, but you're dealing with China wouldn't bother me at all.
You know what? If they would legalize marijuana over there instead of trying to kill you, do you realize how fucking rich I would live over there? With my VA disability and retirement? I get paid more than most government officials.
Something that we have to do in any case. Yeah. Certainly.
Do you support, Mr. President, do you
Right,
support
Roots.
the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, and did you urge the Attorney General to seek one?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General is reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do. Yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, who's your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given your past relationship?
He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard.
It's another deflection.
They did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up
It's
all
another
the way
deflection.
going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. When we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did.
What the fuck?
It's time to start, after what they did to me.
You're right, Roots. That was an odd thing to say.
And I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. Consequences for that. When we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible.
That was such an odd thing to say.
And I let her off the hook.
Has anybody seen Bill?
But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it.
That's it?
And Biden was there with him.
There you go.
And Comey was there.
Forgot about him.
And Clapper, the whole group was there.
Hillary Clinton.
Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay.
With all the gold.
They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here. But
Let me get it.
But you know what?
Let me hold on to it.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him?
It is a little strange, Eddie.
And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life. That's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So,
Where have I heard that before? They have thousands of additional documents, but they don't exist. Thousands of additional documents that just don't exist. Got it.
President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton
$3 bill, y'all.
and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, and admitted fraud. She paid $12 million and the Democrats for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election.
Did he get money for that
All
report?
the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report...
Like a bang of nothing. Feel like we've, that's happened recently, too.
Had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper.
It's my
Wall Street
president.
Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really...
Here's the thing about Donald Trump. He's done a lot of fucked up shit that I don't agree with, especially during this presidency and with this whole issue. But as much as I want to fucking despise the dude, he's done a lot of good for this country. And he continues to do a lot of good for this country, at least in the short run. So it's kind of like, fuck this dude, but at the same time, get it. I get it.
In my opinion, it's a terrible paper, and it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama.
I like how he used the middle name.
You have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information and nobody will ever see it again. But it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way, it morphed into the 2020 race. And the 2020 race was rigged, and it was a rigged election. And because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem. But millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And people that shouldn't have been, people from gangs and from jails and from mental institutions, people that we don't want in our country, people that we're getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murderers, many of them 50%, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such a distinguished guest, but you know, they asked me a question. I got to answer the question. No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden, and so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular
Hey, what's
vote.
up, Short Bus?
But I won that all
I mean,
the same
Tammy
way in
with an
2020.
eye.
And look at the damage that was caused.
How crucial is the ammunition hub, and how crucial is the ammunition hub that the U.S. plans to build in Subic and the Luzon corridor, considering that these will be built in areas that hosts strategic ports as well as military air bases?
You're talking ammunition?
Yes, the U.S. House Congressional Committee on Appropriations approved a budget.
What's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have approved it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have more missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the Speedy missiles.
Let's replay that. That's
ammunition. We wouldn't have approved it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have.
I thought we were running low. So if we're going to have more ammunition, more missiles than we've ever had, I know it could be an exaggeration of how much we're getting. But our stockpile was low. But now it's not. That's a lot of ammunition to make in such a short period of time, especially if they involve missiles. Okay.
More missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the Speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more.
Like the atomic bomb?
Ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me.
And how
Go ahead, please, Red.
Sir, when you say that you're close to making a trade deal, what gaps remain? And for President Marcos,
That's a good question.
I'm just wondering, do you not think that perhaps the Philippines hosting U.S. missile systems could be considered escalatory by China, especially because they can strike deep into mainland China? Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be with this gentleman. You know, I've known him, and I've known his family, actually, but I've known him. And I assume you're from the Philippines? Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
It's good. You're very lucky to be from the Philippines. It's a great place. But we're going to have a very good relationship. I mean, I
You heard
know
that
had
here,
some
ladies and
problems,
gentlemen.
with another president, and it was not your fault. It was the president's fault. And the country was maybe tilting toward China, but we untilted it very, very quickly. But you know, you had a country that was tilting toward China for a period of time, and I just don't think that would have been good for you. You can deal with China, you should deal with China, but when I got elected, everything changed, and they came right back to us.
You know, they're talking about all these trade deals. China is not one of those letters that I've seen come across as Truth Social. I haven't seen any with the name China on it.
Mr. President, I just want to piggyback off the
Sorry, I have a question to President Marcos.
Yes. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It was about whether having U.S. missiles hosted in the Philippines could be considered
That's the vice president.
All of the what we consider part of the modernization of the Philippine military is really as a response to the circumstances that surround the situation around the South China Sea and now what we used to refer to as Asia Pacific, which we have expanded now to the Indo-Pacific. And
you think this could be part of the Golden Dome? You think? I could see that because of where it's located and why that we control 100% of treaties. Think about it. Putting all those new weapons and ammunitions there, that could be part of the Golden Dome.
If we would certainly, like in any kind of military spending, we would wish that it wasn't necessary, but it is. And so that is what we are doing. And as an adjunct to the question about the ammunition production, this is actually the United States is.
Holy shit. He might be doing a global Golden Dome. All these countries in Europe that we're giving Patriot missile launchers to. This is interesting.
Is assisting the Philippines in what we call our self-reliance defense program, which is to allow us to be self-reliant and to be able to stand our own 2 feet, whatever the circumstances that occur in the future. And that the reason that we have encouraged more interaction with the United States is because it is, again, it is necessary. And it is not just with the United States. It is with all our neighboring countries and even countries as far afield as the Scandinavian countries, the EU. And so this is an ongoing process. And again, I will stress the point that we do this because we feel it is necessary.
See?
Don't forget, just as tantamount to.
What did he sell them? So that would make this necessary. Because now we know that we are going to support their country 100% militarily. This seemed like a strategic point that he was trying, or strategic move he was trying to make during his first administration.
What you're asking, the Philippines were loaded up with ISIS and a lot of terrorists.
I must die off, actually.
Very, very dangerous point. And during my administration, we went in and we wiped them out.
Sure did.
Working with the Philippines, but we wiped
I remember.
them out. But if we didn't go in, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know who would be your president right now. But we spent a lot of time and a lot of talent on going into the Philippines and wiping out terrorists. They had a tremendous problem.
Deeply embedded in the jungles, too.
Administration. And we cleaned it up, we got them out, and now you really have a good, solid country again.
I believe so, yes.
No.
Just a question. I want to follow up on the housing question.
Yeah.
You got no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. How important is it we have no tax on home sales, capital gains, to unleash the housing market in this country?
Well, we're thinking about that, but would also unleash it just by lowering the interest rates. If the Fed would lower the rates, we wouldn't even have to do that. But we are thinking about no tax on capital gains on houses. And very impressed that you asked that question because nobody knew that.
Well,
how did you find that out? That's very.
I wonder why there's somebody very close.
There's a leaker. There's a leaker.
I've also got a question. I find it a very interesting world that we know more about two people at a Coldplay concert just hours after that viral video than we know of Thomas Crooks 1 year after.
Oh shit!
Assassinate you. What is holding back the investigation on Thomas Crooks?
Well, they've reported to me and they've told me things, and they really say they haven't found anything that was abnormal.
That means Israel.
The Secret Service was very brave because they were right there and they jumped on me. They made a mistake. They should have had somebody on that roof. and they should add communication with the local police, who also, I mean, they did a very good job, but they made some mistakes, and we have a whole different group of people now. I don't think anything can happen, but I think we have the best people anywhere in the world right now, and I think they've learned. And they went into him very, in great detail. They gave me the whole thing, and what can I do? They say that it was just a nut job that was looking to do this, and I spoke with the FBI, the new FBI. I spoke to the FBI, who was the old FBI. I wouldn't have believed a thing they said, because the old FBI under Comey was crooked as hell. He was one of the most crooked. Everybody should read the Horowitz report. Unfortunately, Bill Barr didn't use it. But the Horowitz report, not appointed by me, it was a report on Comey and the FBI. It is one of the worst shots at a human being I think I've ever seen. In fact, the New York Times did an editorial that was one of the worst editorials I've ever seen about anybody. That was about Comey. You ought to go back and get, and Barr didn't use it because he didn't have the guts to use it, or something happened. I don't know. Too bad. He went to Mr. Durham. Instead of doing the Durham, all they had to use is the Horowitz report. And I always felt badly for Horowitz, frankly, because he's a Democrat, I guess. He was appointed by a Democrat. But that report has gotten lost, and it shouldn't be lost. You should all go back. It should be mandatory reading. Go back and read the Horowitz report on Comey and his cronies. And you'll see exactly, we're going to add that to all the stuff that we found. It just
The what report? Horowitz. Sounds like an Irish. No, it doesn't. Horowitz. German? Definitely not. French. Canadian. South Sudanian. Horowitz. Where does that name originate? I can't figure it out.
confirms it. But what we found is even more so. Now, we found absolute, this isn't like evidence, this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama
could be Polish,
was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup, and it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was this one. No, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country. And it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president, we have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens. Everybody, who doesn't sign? You're the president of a country. But it's all that whole thing, leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. They were signing documents that he knew nothing about. As an example, they released the Unselect Committee of Liability. The Unselect Committee spent 2 years grilling everybody, and then they destroyed all the evidence. You know why? Because the evidence made them guilty. And he gave them all a pardon. The Cheney, all the scum that was on the Unselect Committee, Cryan, Adam Kinzinger, and Democrats. And he gave them a pardon. Do you have something else, guys?
I was going to add one more thing on Adam Schiff. Director Pulte reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. Now, how does a family of four, and you're a developer, very successful developer, how does a family of four live in a one-bedroom apartment?
No, it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now, let's see what happens. It's not up to me. I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal.
For a one-bedroom apartment.
Banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, They have him 100% on mortgage fraud.
So what's going to
If
happen?
there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem. Yeah, please.
There was a hearing yesterday in the Harvard case. Would you allow Harvard to get their federal dollars back as a part of any agreement with the administration?
No, I'm not giving. Harvard's been given $7 billion. Can you believe it? By the Fed, $7 billion, and we want money to go to all universities, not Harvard. Harvard
Smart.
got more than anybody else.
Smart.
They have $52 billion. They get huge tax incentives and tax breaks on that $52 billion. But they have
God
$52
damn.
billion, and they got $7 billion over a short period of time. And we have a very hostile judge appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, a very, very hostile judge who knows exactly right from wrong. But you know, we expect to win.
We
another
used
judge. She hasn't given a
Hussein
decision yet, but she's
again.
very hostile, and she was put by Barack Hussein Obama. And generally speaking, anybody that does that, we're gonna have problems with. So we don't expect to have. We won the case yesterday. Anybody that was there, that was a neutral, would say we easily won the case. But a lot of the case, and a big part of it's going to be how much money Harvard gets in the future. That's not part of the case, and they're not going to get very much.
Mr. President, where are we in terms of negotiating about the reciprocal tariff? How far are we?
With who?
With the Philippines. Yes, sir. How far
Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
You couldn't tell?
Well, it's tough. He's a very tough negotiator. So far, we're not there because he's negotiating too tough. In fact, I used to like him better than I do now. He's too tough. But we'll probably agree to something. But he is.
Wait, you don't have one yet?
He loves your country.
Mr. President,
you talk a lot about the severe consequences that those who are involved in the Russia hoax must face. In your view, sir, what are the next steps now that these documents are out there and Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, the Justice Department would have to act. And we have a very competent, very good, very loyal to our country person in Pam Bondi, very respected.
I wonder if him and Pam Bondi go to Coldplay concerts. Huh?
And it's going to be her decision.
Just a follow-up to that, sir. Christy Noem in New York City visiting an off-duty CBP officer who was allegedly shot this weekend by a illegal alien who came into the country during the previous administration.
Right.
What is your message to any local leader to continue to push sanctuary city policies after this nearly tragic incident?
So the only thing I don't understand, because you like to understand things and we're all smart people and all, but why would they allow 21 million people into our country, unvetted, unchecked? You don't allow it. You wouldn't allow people then. He's tough. No, the country's run properly. Biden and his group of thugs, and I don't think it was Biden, I think it was the people that surrounded that beautiful Resolute desk right behind you. They allowed 21 million people, probably much more than that, and many of them came from jails and gangs and drug dealers and mental institutions, insane asylums. Many of them are very sick. 21 million, probably 25 million, probably even more than that. And we're getting them out. Many were murderers, as I said. They killed people. Many killed more than one person. Stone cold murders.
Rapists.
I don't understand why they would have allowed that. There's
He
only
does,
two
Carmen.
reasons
It
to
makes
vote.
me wonder.
Is there one voters? It's one reason. I don't think they would have done it for that because they cheat. You know, they're so good at cheating, they don't need that. But the vote, and the second reason is they hate our country. I think they hate our country. I actually do. And it's the biggest problem. I mean, much of our time is spent with, you know, we have the strongest border anywhere in the world now. Maybe even stronger than your border, if you can believe it. We have no people came in last month, 0, which is pretty amazing. I'm not even sure I can believe that.
I don't think that's the strongest border. We have the strongest border in the world. But you know who does? Who's got the strongest border in the world? Can you guess? Can you guess? Probably not. But I bet Horowitz is from there.
liberals are the ones that do that calculation. So, but we had no people come in. A year ago, we had hundreds of thousands of people come in. Hundreds of thousands of people. And they flowed in. And if it wasn't for the election, it would have been millions of people came in last year. So millions of people prior to election time, they allowed millions and millions of people to come into our, I mean, you saw it. They'd open the gates. If you took an Alabama LSU football game that holds 128,000 people, I was there, 128,000 people, and I liked them and they liked me. But if you took that and doubled it, that's what used to flow into our country on a daily basis. It's not even believable. And we're getting them out, and we're starting with the worst ones. And we had a man shot yesterday, a police officer who was great.
CVP.
Gentleman, shot right here in the throat. Probably won't be able to speak again. But he was brave, and he shot the other guy, and they ended up getting him. And you saw the scene where his friend took him to a hospital and dumped him down on the sidewalk. The whole thing was crazy. But why would anybody do to our country what these Democrats have done? And honestly, we can never forget it. We can never forget it. What they have done, the damage that they've done to America is very, very sad. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, there you Hello. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and that's what I got for you today. This kind of, I forgot this was going to be on until it came up on my notifications, so it's a good way to end it. Learned a little bit more deflection, but now all these deals seem like they're making sense, especially when you realize we're giving a huge stockpile of ammo to the Philippines for them to hold for us, just to hold it, and to repair our ships, maintenance facility for the ships. They didn't mention that part. And then you think, we made these deals with European countries and Middle Eastern countries, and they contain packages of Patriot missile launchers and ammo. And we've already had them on the border in Poland. There's yearly rotations for units in Poland. And well, the whole Eastern Europe. They rotate every year. No fucking way. That dude's older than me. I wonder how good that's going to go. Now I'm going to have to check it out. Exactly. Maybe I could still... No, I'm too out of shape. Anyway, forgot what I was going to get to on that one. No. This strategically giving these Patriot missile launchers to countries, especially in the Middle East, where I think they said they're going to get 19. No, that was from NATO. No, NATO was a different number. It doesn't fucking matter. This could be the Golden Dome that Donald was talking about. This could be it. Because the Patriot missile launchers is what helps create this Golden Dome, amongst other things. But it would ensure that nothing reaches the United States. Maybe Alaska, but I'm pretty sure there's a battery up in Alaska. Fucking wild, right? Wild. That's what I think. But I'm not telling you how to think. Because then maybe the CIA and FBI and DNI are all going to come knocking on my door and be like, listen. Relax. Probably won't happen. But it makes you think, right? I'm just telling you to think. And until then, we shall see what happens. See what these deals with these other countries involve. And then we'll go from there. Something like that. Y'all have a good day.